Hey everybody, how's everyone doing this evening? Let me see the comments. Dalton is already here, up and running. Thank you so much, Dalton. So if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. We have a great session planned today with Rohan. If you are worried about the level of your Flutter developer experience, don't worry about it. We have all the sessions that Rohan been running for the past few weeks available on YouTube on this channel as well. So make sure to check those out. And Rohan has all those codes available for you as well. Now, Rohan, what's happening today?
Oh, today's pretty exciting. So today we're going to do a currency converter app. So we like $1 equals to what in all the currencies. So in all major currencies, you can know what's the value of $1.
Awesome. So before we get started, I think you have some. We're going to do something interesting today, something
Yes,
different in the beginning.
yes. Today we've planned something different. So just to get us to brush up on the skills that we've learned so far, and to increase our confidence level, we want to be doing a short quiz, a short Kahoot quiz. Yeah, that's right. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah. Uh, Yeah, so a Kahoot quiz is a 12 questions, and you can just, it's not about getting it right or wrong. It's just to revise some concepts and to feel more acquainted with Flutter.
Okay, awesome. Let's see whether the quiz is ready. And Rohan, take it from there.
Perfect.
So again, you don't need to join the quiz on Kahoot. We're going to put it live. Just comment your answers on the chat. We hit a bit of a technical glitch there, so waiting for players. Okay, go. I think you got to hit OK, go on the screen. And now hit start.
Right.
And Rohan,
Yeah.
you want to read the question out?
Oh, yes, yes. All right. And so here's the thing. So, okay, so which of these widgets can take multiple children? So far, we've usually learned widgets that can take just one child, but which of these widgets can take in multiple children? So the options text, column, center, and hero widget. So you can try this out.
Put your answers on the comments.
Oh yes, put your answers in the comments. And so yes, so the answer is column. So if you remember in the previous sessions, whenever we wanted a vertical arrangement of widgets, we used a column widget, so we could arrange those widgets vertically. So if you want multiple widgets, then you have to use column. Let's see. So oh, perfect. All right, so we can go into to the next question, because there will be some time lag with the way we're doing our live stream. So yes, most of you have got it, so that's very nice. Perfect. So we'll see what's the next question. So which widget would we use to have transition animations between two pages? So if you remember this, we did it last week where we had our dog image from the main from the home screen all the way to the detail screen. So which widget did we use to get that beautiful animation? So the time is getting in, but let's wait for some comments to come in. There's always going to be some lag. Yep, and the answer is a hero widget. If you remember, we wrapped the image from our home screen and the image on our detail screen with a hero widget, and we gave the same tag, so it knew how to transition into that. So yes, this is a very amazing widget to use. So yeah, I hope you remember this, because this is something that we all love as Flutter developers. Cool. Let's head on over to the next question. Which widget should we use to center a child widget? So you have a widget, but it's sticking to the top left of the screen, right? Which is 0, 0 in computer science. So how do you bring it to the center of the screen? Which widget do we use? A center, a centered, a line center, or a position with a position attribute of position.center? Yeah, if you yes, we use the center widget. Center widget just takes one child, and you give it and you pass whichever widget you want to center as a child of the center widget, and that widget is centered in the screen. Perfect. We can move on to the so yes, and you can keep your comments coming in. Yes, perfect. And let's head on over to the next question. Yes, this is a good one. So, which package do we use to make HTTP requests from our app? So, we've used APIs quite extensively. So, which widget do we use to to make these HTTP requests? The time is running up here. Yes. So yes, this looks like someone answered. Yes, we use the HTTP package. So if you remember, we went to pub.dev and we took the HTTP package from there and we included it in our app. And yeah, so that's what we are. So that's how we make our request to our API using this HTTP package. Perfect. I hope you are. You are revising these concepts. So with that said, let's move on to our next question. Which widget do we use to get a bar at the top of the screen? You might have seen on phones, right? We have a top bar there. So, what widget is that? What's it called? An app bar? Uh, uh, a top bar? Yes, some of the options are there. And yes, we use an app bar. An app bar is the name that's given to the top bar that you see on the screen, and then it usually has a title there. And so, yes, we use our app bar widget to get that bar at the top of the screen. So, yes, some people answering in the comments, that's correct. Very good. So, if we can head on over to the next question. So, what's the correct way to style a text widget? So, how do we style a text widget? So here's some syntax there. So how do we style a text widget? That's right. Uh, so we use the text style property, and we use the text widget from there. Uh, and so yes, so we can so yes, so when you want to style some text, we use the style property, and we pass in a text style widget there. Perfect. So if you can move on over to the next question. Which widget is a valid way to implement a button? So a couple of options there, and the time is running out there. So this was like a little of a trick question because when you see button, usually think that it might be the button widget. But as we did in our Love Calculator app, uh, and also in couple of our previous apps, what we use is something called a flat button. So that so a flat button is a button that we usually use for implementing our buttons there. So yes, that was a trick question. So oh, most of you have got it. So that's very nice. Cool. So we can if you can head over to the next question. So here is uh, uh, so, so so there are two types of widgets, right? Two main types. So which of these is a correct type of a widget? So you can think about this. And yes, So the two types of widgets, stateless and stateful widgets. So if you know stateless widgets, it is static and it will never change throughout the runtime. And the next type is stateful widgets. So these widgets, their state would change with time. And so and if you don't know exactly what these are, not a problem. It gets clear with time. This is not a very intuitive concept, so not a problem if you don't understand what it is. But I hope you at least hear these concepts and start to develop some kind of feel for how Flutter works. So stateless and stateful widgets. Perfect. So if you can head on over to the next question. Yes, this is a widget that we did even in week 1. So scaffold, we always use a scaffold. So why do we use a scaffold? So a couple of options there. What do you want to encapsulate in this scaffold? Right. A scaffold is we want to encapsulate a screen. So when we want to encapsulate a screen in a scaffold, that's when we use a scaffold widget. As when you want to encapsulate a screen, we use a scaffold widget. So that contains all. So which app that we want? What's our home app of our scaffold? What's our app bar of a scaffold? If you have a bottom navigation there, so you want to encapsulate all these characteristics of a screen into one widget called a scaffold, right? So very nice. And if you can go on over to the next question. So this is a little bit of a trick question, so take some time there. So we have used some model classes. Now, which one of these is a valid class? So you can take some time to think about this. So what's a valid constructor here? Right? So most people might think that this is correct, which it is. It actually is correct. But there's one small thing that we usually forget is in Dart, whenever we're using this specialized form of a constructor, we have to put a semicolon at the end. Which so if you if how you define constructors in Java, right? You have the open curly brace and the closed curly brace. But here we are not doing that. So in order to tell Dart that you've finished your line, you have to put a semicolon even after the parenthesis in order to define your constructor. So that's right. Perfect. So if we can head over to our next uh, to the next question. Yes. So now here's the question, and we have to think on is this correct Dart syntax? So we can take some time and you can refer to the syntax and think on if it is correct. So here there is so everything was correct here. Something that you might notice is the double question marks. This is something that we briefly touch over. It's basically a null aware operator, or it basically checks if you ever reach this null. I mean, if ever dog.name is null, then it will display what's after the two question marks. So the dash will be displayed instead of dog.name. So if you want to do this in Java, you'd have to do this check dog.name not equal to null question mark, then dog.name, and the colon, and then you write the string that has a dash. But here with just the two question marks, you can get that feature to work. Perfect. And now finally, for our last question. Now this, you can take a look at this. So which of these platforms Flutter can't run on? So Flutter can't run on a platform. So, I mean, we always say Flutter can run on iOS and Android, but what about web and desktop? Right, Flutter can run on all the platforms here. So it is so apart uh, from iOS and Android, which we usually are used to, Flutter can also run for web and also for desktop. So you can even create web apps and even desktop apps using Flutter. So I hope this helped you in some way, and you are getting a little more used to these Flutter concepts, Flutter widgets, what packages we're using, and so yes, that's our quiz.
Thank you. Awesome. I think we got a good summary of what we learned so far throughout all these sessions. Before I get you to kickstart the whole series, quick announcements. We are on Discord. I know Dalton is already there. If you have any questions, if you ever get stuck, and I want to give you a heads up for next week. So next week is going to be a really busy week because we have two Cloud Hero prep events planned, as well as a Cloud Hero event on the weekend. Two events planned. You can find the links on the YouTube channel, but the official links will be emailed to you to chapters, or you check out on our Discord server, or even on LinkedIn and other means that you communicate through DSC chapters. So that being said, Rohan, I'm going to hand over this week's session to you.
Perfect. Yes. So today is pretty exciting. We are coming to our second session of our intermediate level. So we had first three, which were beginner level. Now it's basically just beginner level, but we are learning a few more advanced widgets and trying to get used to using the vast array of widgets Flutter provides to create some semi-professional apps. So it's pretty exciting. We are in our second intermediate app. Today we're going to be building our currency exchanger app. So before you even talk about what this is, one very important thing is I hope you have joined the Think Outside the Valley's Discord server. So this is where you can get help. You can ask your questions there, and I can respond pretty quickly. And also during the live session, so during today's session, you can ask your question there and tag me in the @Flutter chat channel, and I should be able to respond during the session. So if you have any questions, you can put it there. Apart from me, Dalton. So Dalton is helping us out. So he's offering to help answer your questions. So just put your questions there, and Dalton can help you out too. Also, as usual, our YouTube live chat. So you can put your questions in there, and it will be featured from time to time on our live stream. So we can answer your questions there. Perfect. So, a little bit about our schedule. I always do this so that we know where we are currently in our schedule. We've done our first three apps: our Hello World, Favorite Celebrities, our Love Calculator. We tried to get acclimated with what Flutter is and some kind of Flutter widgets. Next, last week, pretty exciting, we did our dog quotes app. So if you haven't seen that out, check it out. It's on YouTube. And today, we are here on week five of 8. So we are about midway through our series. We are mainly going to learn uh, advanced state management. So how do we manage states in our app? So there are some data that many widgets would require. How do we provide the data to many widgets? This could seem alien to you at first, but we'll cover that today. And finally, to wrap the series, we'll be having our chat app and our face recognition app. So, fun series planned. So, let's see what app we're going to be building today. So, our currency exchanger app looks something like this. It's the first time we have implemented our dark theme. So, most of us, we love the dark theme in our IDE. So Android Studio, we go into the dark theme. If you're on VS Code, people prefer the dark theme. Now, what about apps? People might prefer the dark theme of apps too, where there's a black background and then all the text is white, and your accent color, the color that brings some punch to your app UI, is some very bright color like yellow. So we're going to see how do we design this UI. We're going to learn our new this text field, so we can enter text into our app. And as usual, we always do our HTTP requests. So we query the online API, and we parse it, And yeah, so that's the major part of our app. So let's see our so let so this is the code that we're going to have, and we'll be sharing it in on the chat soon. So oh yes, so there's some error with the screenshot, but yes, so that's our app for today. So as always, let us clone this repository onto a local system. So head over to code, and yeah, I'll give you some time. The comment must have gone out. So if we can get the comment for our Git repo, our GitHub repo to everyone, and also you can search by my name and get the repository from there, and then you can uh, copy this URL. So this URL is how you will clone this repository onto a local system. Now head over to Android Studio, File, New, Project from Version Control. Now here is where Android Studio will ask us, which repo we want to clone. So we will enter the URL here, and yeah, we'll just leave it at whichever folder it is, and then we'll click on the clone button. And now it should ask us, do you want to create an Android Studio project? We'll select no. So we don't want Android Studio to create the project for us. We just want them to clone the folders and the files. And now we will open it manually. So I will go to where I've saved it. Yeah, it's a long path. I should like to keep it. Yeah, and Flutter series. Oops, Flutter helper. And here's our app. So choose wherever you have cloned your repository, and then click on OK. And I'll start it in a new window and expand this window for everyone. Yes, this is so yeah, this is basically our readme. So by the way, now you are currently on the master branch. Yep, there's a lot of errors here. We can ignore that and expand the lib directory and double click on main.dart. And all these errors are just whenever you start a new project, you might get this problem when you clone a new project. So we can just click on get dependencies, and if that doesn't solve the problem, then we'll just give it some time, and hopefully Android Studio will itself fix it. So pub/YAML, let's run this pub get, and hopefully the error should be fixed. Yep, so that fixes all the errors, and yep, it fixes everywhere. Perfect. So now we have cloned our repository onto our local system, and currently this is our master branch. So let us run. Looks like there are some errors here in screen. Yeah, so this seems like, so this is yeah, we usually get some errors when we clone a repository. So this seems like some errors. Let's see if, because this is not an error in the code, it's just so I will open our app here. So yes, you can start it on an emulator of your choice and run the app on our emulator, and let's see if we get that error. So yes, this error it still hasn't gone. So let's just hope that it goes by itself. If not, then we'll have to restart Android Studio. It's a common thing that when we clone a repository, we get some errors like this. So let us wait. And by the way, if you get something like this, not to worry, you can just ignore this. For now, it isn't too important. So we can just ignore it for now. And let's give it some time. Perfect. Our app seems to have started. Yes, ignore this too. This is Whoops, I think I froze there. Yes. So you can ignore this error here, insufficient storage. That just this emulator doesn't have enough storage, but that's fine. And yes, this is our completed app. So there's something that you might not have seen, but you can even filter this, and we are going to learn on how to filter our app. So as usual, let us head over to Git. Let us download step one starter code. So step one starter code, and then checkout. And these errors, they're just some Android Studio errors. These aren't actual code errors, so you can get dependencies, and hopefully this should be fixed. Uh, so I hope it gets fixed. And now you can just click on hot restart, hot reload, and this is our initial stage of our app. So let us see what we have in our starter code. So a couple of things are implemented for us. So let me expand everything. So our first thing is our main.dart that points us to the home screen as usual, right? We go to our home screen. Our home screen has a column of a text that says 1 USD equals and an expanded, so it takes the entire part of the screen. Let me show you using the Flutter inspector. So you can see we have this text here, and then we have this expanded that technically would take the entire part of the screen. There seems to be some problem here, but yes, it takes the entire part of the screen, and the entire part of the screen is this list view. So if you notice, is this list view here. So this list view is basically all our currency cards that we would have. So that's our plan. So we currently have this. Now in this step, we're going to implement the filter text view here. So that's basically step one. So let's start coding. And at any point, if there are any questions, you can tag me on Discord, and you can even ask it on YouTube live chat, and it'll be featured on the stream, so I can answer those. Perfect. So our step one is to wrap this column within a widget called safe area. So let's do that. So column, alt enter, wrap with widget, safe area. Now, what is the safe area? So if you notice now, we are going behind our notification bar or this notification pane here, right? So we can call it whatever, but let's just call it our notification pane. So a safe area, it doesn't let you go into some unsafe, into some risky areas here, like this below this notification bar. So now I'll hit Control S, and you notice you have got some padding for free. So now our UI is bounded such that you're only within the safe areas of our screen. Perfect. Now, as usual, we have commented out the solution. So if you don't really follow along, you just want to uh, play around with it, you can just uncomment this out and it should work, right? But uh, we'll in the session we'll do it together. So our first step is we need a text field. So a text is text that's displayed, right? Like this is some text that's displayed. A text field is some text that you can enter. So Control S, and oh yes, let's add a comma. And now let me remove the debug paint. Now you notice here you can type some text here, right? But this doesn't look very neat, right? You remember how we had our text in our app? We had like a circular box, a box with rounded corners. So let's see how do we implement that. So in our text field, our first step is controller. So this controller is basically how you would define the text. So we have created a controller here. So now within the code, you can do something like controller.clear to clear all the text. Let's say, right, you wanted to controller.clear. If you hit Control S, then right, you see the text is cleared. So now basically you are attaching a controller with a text field, so that you can just say controller.clear or controller. You can change the text of the controller, and whichever text fields use that controller, will you can see the change there, right? So we have attached a controller to a text feed. Then let's look at our next properties. Next is decoration. And for the decoration, let's have an input decoration. Now, our first step in our input decoration is our hint text, right? So now currently, I don't know what to enter into this text field. So to know what to enter there, we have our hint text. That's basically just a string. And a string will be filter. Control S. Now you notice this filter. So I know what to enter there. As a user, you don't leave the user guessing what's this text field for. So we have inputted that. Next, let's have our label text, which you won't really know what it means. So you can hit Control S there, and it's basically this small label here. So let's restart our app. So this text will be unselected. It appears like this. Now, when you click on it, you get this animation for free, where the label will go up. Right? It was subtle there, but your label heads over up, and then you have your hint text. Now, to get the rounded shape here, you want to do border, and this so we have used many different kind of borders. So there's a border.all, right? We have used many different kind of borders, but if you notice here, so you can tap on this and hit Control Q. This expects an input border. So actually, this outline input border is basically an extension of input border. So we're going to use the outline version of input border. And now if you hit Control S, you notice that you get this rounded shape. So this is what we want in our app. But there's still a couple of things. This rounded shape isn't as round enough. So you can expand outline input border. Here you can type in border radius. For the border radius, you can type in your border radius dot we'll type in circular and pass in 20.0. Errors here, yeah, that's solved. And now you notice that our text field is much more rounded, uh, which is what we want. We want this much more rounded shape. So let's let's rounded. So whoops, looks like I froze there. It happens time to time. I apologize for that. Yep, it happens from time to time. So now, uh, outside of our decoration and within our text field, add this property called on changed. Now, notice, so hit on change and hit Control Q, right, in Android Studio for a quick documentation. You notice that it requires a function that takes in a string as a parameter and returns void. So here we're going to take in a string called text. So you don't need to specify the variable type here, right? By default, it is of the type dynamic, which is it's basically like Python, but you don't need to specify the variable name, right? You can just or like JavaScript, where you have var. Here you can just have text. That would be fine, good enough. Now, whenever your text changes, we have to filter our results, right? So we have a util class called filter utils dot filter quotes, and you can just pass all of these variables, and that should work. So whenever our text changes, so if you want to know if it's called or not, you can just type in print called and expand your run pane and hit Control S. So now whenever this changes, you notice it is called whenever we change. So whenever it changes, we want to trigger this callback, and we want to filter all our results that we have received. So currently now this doesn't make any difference since we haven't really downloaded our results. So this we can just delete this line. By the way, the shortcut is Control Y if you want to delete a line. And let's check our to-do. Yep. And yep, so ignore this, the Android part of our to-dos. That's that's provided by Android, so we can ignore it. And that's our step one. We've implemented our our text bar, our text field here. So let's save our changes. So terminal, and you can type here git add dot git commit dash m, and just any text, any message here. So just completed step one also would work. Completed step one, and now you should see all the green and the orange stuff should disappear. And now let's download a step to starter code. So origin, a step to starter code, and then checkout. And yeah, we get some errors here. So if this is like interrupting your experience, so it because I mean it's not a expected behavior. So what you can do is file invalidate caches restart. So you're basically clearing all the caches of Android Studio and restarting Android Studio, and click on this button. And that should restart like completely, and then this error should almost certainly go away. But I'm just going to keep it as this because that takes some time, almost a minute and a half or so. Uh, but yes, it isn't causing a problem for us. This is basically not error in the code, but it's error with how Android Studio is parsing or is reading this code, is interpreting this code. Not actual interpretation, of course, but I mean, how is it making sense of the code, right? So, yep, let us start to implement these to-dos here. We have 15 to-dos here. So under lib, let us expand all these to-dos here. Yep. So I'll head over to to-do one. So yes, now, so far, I can hit this. And so if you had any problem with implementing step one, not to worry, just head over to step two. And step one is already implemented in step two. So you can continue from here. Perfect. Now in step two, our first step, our first to do rather, is to create this file called constants.dart. Now, constants.dart is a file that contains all the constants that you would use throughout your app. So for stuff that will not change throughout your app, like a border radius, right? We want to give all elements in our app a border radius of 20. Margin, we want to give a default margin of 20. So to specify this constants, let us right click on lib, so new directory, and oh, so not directory, yeah, a file. So right click on this and then click on new file. You can type in constants.dart. So now you might be wondering that is it necessary to always call it constants.dart? Well, no. This is just any regular Dart file, but we're just calling it constants.dart as a convention that we want to follow. So now if you want to find out all the constants that we use in our app, you don't need to check each Dart file here. All we need to do is just head over to constants.dart that contains all the constants that we use throughout our app. So here, let us actually control X. So I will control X this and paste it here. Now we need to create two constants. One is for our margin, other one is for a border radius. So our first to do will be const. So just like in Java or in traditional programming languages, we use the const keyword to specify a constant. So const, and our default margin is of type double. So const double k default margin is equal to 20.0. And we can copy this line, paste it here, and this is for our default border radius. Now, one thing that you might note is why are we writing this k here, right? What's the meaning of this k? Now, this is also a convention that we like to use, is all the constants would be initialized with this letter k. So let's say if you have another variable called default margin, and you want to know that, hey, is this a constant or not? So instead of figuring it out and going up the checking the different files and trying to find out where did this variable come from, if you ever see a k as a prefix of your variable name, you can know with certainty that it's a constant. So you can't change it. Like you can't say something like k default margin is equal to 20 or 30 in the future, right? You know that this is false. So that's a convention that we like to use. Let's see what are our next to-dos. Yes. So now what we're going to do is our list view. So if you remember from the previous weeks, we have this list view dot builder, right? That returns some object. So now instead of returning one, let us return currency card, and you can hit Control S, and we shouldn't see any change here. Uh, so now let's start working on our currency card. So this currency card is the card that we will use for each currency. So let's see what we mean by that. So you can head over to widgets. So lib widgets currency dot, underscore card dot dart. And by the way, if there are any questions in the comments, we can see that now. And also uh, on Discord. So if I see someone has tagged me, this is something else, I believe. So if someone has tagged me, I will answer that question too. So you can tag me there. Perfect. Let's move on. Now our container. So let's head over to a Flutter inspector and let us give this container, this currency card, this container, let's give it a height of 200.0. Control S. Notice this container is here, and let's give it a color, colors dot red, and let's remove this. This is basically just to show you the container, right? So now you can see that there's a container over here. So let's actually delete this. This is not needed. So just to show you where the container is in our list. Control S. We can't see it now, but it's there. Let's start working on our app. So our first thing is we need to, our child of our container should be a widget called list tile. Now you might wonder what's this list tile. So if you think about this is the same widget that we used last week for our dog quotes app. So if you remember list tile, and if not, no problem. Let's revise this. So our list tile has a couple of amazing attributes, but the main ones are leading, then there's title, subtitle, and then there's trailing. So the names are, Flutter is very amazing in providing very intuitive names that you can just look at it and figure out what it means. So let's start to work on all of these different components of our list style. So for our leading, let's give it a circle avatar, which basically is that circle for our currency. So a circle avatar, the child of a circle, child of a circle avatar will be a text widget. And for the text, you can just type in any testing currency for now, like GBP, and yes, let's comment these lines of code out as that's causing errors here. And now if you notice, you get this circle for free by wrapping your text within a circle avatar. You might wonder what happens if you don't do this. Oops. Let's actually yep, put this on do not disturb so we don't get disturbed by our Discord comments here. Now if you notice, we get the GBP but not the circle. So that's why we wrap it within our circle. Now, a circle, the background color of a circle. So background color should be colors dot green. Now, you might wonder that, hey, this is well and good, but I kind of want to have this color to be dynamic, right? So I want this color to change depending on the theme of our app. So we won't actually hard code colors.green. Instead, we will do something something smart, you can say, by referring it dynamically through our theme. So you can type in your theme.off context dot. Now here you get these colors here. So we're going to select accent color and hit Control S. Now if you notice, you get this blue, but now it's dynamic. So what I can do is in the main.dart, right, there's a to-do for us. I can just change the accent color, colors dot yellow. And now if you hit Control S, notice that all the places that I've referenced to the accent color of our app will now use the accent color that we have specified in our material app. This theme data theme, right? Our theme. So we can specify colors here and they will be used throughout our app. So that's the trick that we use. The background color will be the accent color of our app. And that's it for our leading, right? Unless there's, yes, so ignore this for now. That's basically it for our leading. Let's work on our title. So our title should show the like GBP should be like British pound here, right? So let's work on that. So text that says British pound, Control F, whoops, I think I hit Control A, Control S, and now you get this British pound here. Perfect. But let's style this. So style, just like we had in a quiz question, right? How do we style text? Here we should have font size and give it a font size of 18.0. Control S, it enlarges a little bit, as by default text is 14.0. To reformat this, Control Alt L, and it just gives you this beautiful hierarchy, right? And that's it. That's as easy as it is. We just need to, I mean, that's it for our text. Now we won't be using subtitle, so we can just ignore this property for now, and let us start to work on our trailing. Now, what is our trailing? Our trailing is like British pound, let's say, is equal to, and I'm just guessing about maybe say $1.03. So Control S. Trailing, as the name suggests, is the trailing part of our app. Leading is the leading. Title is here. Now, even though we won't use it, just to show you, subtitle is what will appear below the title, right? So this container, let me give it a background color of colors dot. So a trick, right? Theme dot off context dot accent color. So less. Yeah, it gets uh, width. So this is actually didn't plan to do it, but yes, there's a cool thing called width opacity, and here you can pass in 0.1. So it is 0.4. So it just is not as opaque. So basically, you can see the list style here. You can see your leading. Here's your title. Here's your subtitle, and here's your um, the British pound. Like $1 equals to 1.03 British pound. So now let us style this text here. So style, as usual, we have a text style, and our text style is equal to, let's give it a higher font size of 18.0. And you can hit Control S. It enlarges this. Let me delete. Oh, actually, this is part of one of the to do. So, uh, so yes, so we'll keep that there. Actually, so for now we'll delete it, but if needed, we'll add it again. Hit Control Alt L, and you get this something weird thing that's happening here. This line that's trailing backwards. So, like between these two parentheses, be sure to put a comma and hit Control Alt L, and now it should. Whoops, it's still appearing here. Uh, yeah, Control Alt L after that, and now it should go away. So just put a comma over here. Perfect. We have created Control S. We have created our list style here. A couple of things now. We have done the title. We have done our trailing widget. Let's add some margin and padding and decorations to our container. So, like between the parentheses of a container, give it some space. Let's add in some margin first of all. Margin const edge insets dot, let's give it a symmetric margin of horizontal k default margin over 2. Now you might be wondering that this k default margin, yes, it is the same, it's the same default margin that we've specified in our constants.dart. So let's head back over to our currency card. So we're giving it a default margin of uh, 20 divided by 2, which is 10. So now if I hit control, oh yes, there's an error here. So click on this and click Alt Enter and just import the constants file. So if you missed that, then hit Control Z, click on it, Alt Enter, and import the constants file. That error should disappear. Hit Control S, and oops, there's still some. Yeah, let's put a comma here and Control S. Now observe, we should be going a little away from the edges of the screen. Hit Control S. Right, we have Flutter Inspector. You are away from the screen now. Let's add some vertical margin to of k default margin over 2. And now we should get this vertical padding also. And let's hit Control Alt L to make this much underneath. Let's add a padding. For the padding, let's add the same amount of padding. So I will just Control C and Control V here. And also, if you aren't following along, not a problem. So the future steps will like the solution is provided. So if you don't want to follow along, not a problem. Right? You can go at your pace. Control S, and we should get a vertical padding also. Let's add some decoration to this container. So decoration within the container here, let's add some decoration. And for the decoration, let's add a box decoration, right? And if you hit Control S, nothing like too visible should happen. So let me remove the inspector here so you can observe this. And the box decoration, let's give it a color of colors dot black 45. So hit Control space, you get all these shades of black. We're going to be using black 45. So the more higher number is, the more darker the shade. So let's use black 45. Control S. You get this black background. Now let's add a border radius to it. This border radius property takes in border radius dot circular. And for circular, let's now. So you can just think about this. Is this the right thing to do? Control S. It gives us what we want. Right? It gives us this beautiful chiseled edges or the corners. However, this isn't the best thing that we're going to do. We want to actually use k default border radius. Control S. It does the same thing for us. But now, if let's say in the future, I want to change all the radii of our app to let's say 30, I can just do it in one centralized place. 30. Right? And if I want to change it back to 20, in just one place, I can change it back to 20. Instead of scouring through all the places where I've used a border radius of 20 and manually changing that to 30. This is a shortcut. And hit Control S. And yes, this is our app. Now, there are a few more things that we need to do. So I don't see any questions coming in. So ask questions if there are any. This is, I mean, like we're trying our best to give the best session possible, but give your questions coming in, your feedback, so we can improve the session and answer all your questions. So we want to make sure you benefit from this session. So be sure to put your questions in. Now, within our main dot, right? So within our theme data, here there's something called brightness. Now this is something amazing. So let's type this here, brightness. This takes in brightness dot light or dark. Now, when you press dark and give a comma and hit Control S, something magical happens. Flutter changed a lot for us for free. Notice the text colors have changed to white. So let me give light here. And you can see earlier the text color was black. But by default, you didn't have to even change the text color. by default, Flutter is pretty smart and it changed all those colors to black. So now it's very, I mean, it's matching our app that we wanted. And you can click here brightness to dark, and we're given accent color of yellow. And that's our step two. We have worked on our currency card. I hope you're seeing how easy it is to build this with Flutter. Right? This complex looking card. All that we did was we added the currency and we added the text. But our whoops, looks like I froze again there. Apologize. So now in this list style, this is all the code that we have. Right here you have your leading, your title, and your subtitle is actually we can delete this. It's not needed anymore. Your leading, your title, and your trailing. Oh, by the way, I think your trailing has to be also of accent color. So let us modify our trailing. I forgot the style here. Trailing should be color theme dot off context dot accent color and Control Alt L. Just put a comma here. Control Alt L. So you can style this. Now hit Control S. You notice that this becomes yellow. Now this is actually a little bold. So we have given a font weight. Not essential questions though, but that Dart analysis server restart cured the. Oh, it does. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. So you said that uh, the Dart analysis server restart. Dart analysis server restart. So yes. Oh yes. Let's do this. And there might be some. Oh, it looks like it is correct. So thank you for mentioning that. And yes, so if others also have the problem, then hopefully we can solve it using that. This is expected error, so that will fix it now. But thank you for mentioning that. Perfect. So font weight dot w600. So this will just be a little bold. Yep, it worked. Very nice. Thank you. So this Control S, and you get this slightly bold. So it was subtle, but it's much more clearer now. And let's verify if you have completed all our to-dos for step 2. Add margin. We have added margin. We've added this. Yep, we have completed this. Perfect. So head over to terminal and git add dot git commit dash m and save these changes here. Yeah, link this. Oh, perfect. So it's in the comments. So thanks for linking it. Perfect. So now in the commit, you can just type in here something like completed step 2. As easy as that. And now all the green stuff should disappear. This is like basically what lines you have added. And now you have saved the change, so they should disappear. And now we can head over to step 3. Looks like there is some error here. So step 3 doesn't seem to be here. So this seems to be some. Let me. So it looks like step 3 didn't go to the remote branch. So let me actually do it now. And hopefully then we should be able to see it. And now we should refresh the page. So for some 9 branches, for some reason step 3 didn't head over. So step 3, and I'm not sure if so this is, yeah, I'm not sure we'll see it over here since we have so one thing you can do is VCS and then update project, and if that gives us merge the incoming changes, yep, click on OK. Hopefully that should work. Yep, and you have starter 3. So if you So step 3 didn't appear for some reason. So you can, now it should work. So step 3, start the code and check out. And we should now start working on step 3. So this is very nice. Let's get our dependencies. So get our dependencies. So this is, it just appears, let's just click get dependencies for now. And if you have done it once and it still doesn't go away, you can click on ignore if you want. But basically a step 3 now, let's see what we want to implement here. So remember I had mentioned that we want to implement something called advanced state management. So advanced state management is basically you have some data, and this data, so this data, how do we give it to the widgets of our app? That's the most limit, like in the most, if you break it down, this is essentially what it is. You have some data. How do you efficiently transfer this data to all other widgets in your app? Now, why we want to do this? It will become much more apparent soon. So let's start doing the to-dos, and I'll explain along the way. So in our lib blocks folder, there are two blocks here. So this currency block and this display block. Let's start working on the code. And by the way, if you don't want to implement it, not a problem. You can just click on this and comment out all the lines. So it will save you some time, right? Because we know people want to um, follow along with the code, and sometimes things will go a little too fast. But so you can just uncomment the code out, and that's also a way. Perfect. Now here, so let's create a currency. Now, so a question here to all of you. So I don't know if you'll answer. There'll be some lag there, but what is this underscore? Right? We discussed it in the previous. We discussed it last week. So if you know the answer, you can type it in the comments. And so yeah, you can try it out. So I'll give you a few seconds. Think of this like a quiz question just to refresh, on what we're learning. So yes, so an underscore is basically Dart's way of specifying that this is a private variable. So we don't want currency to be exposed outside of our currency block like we want, but technically we don't want. So let's give it a private variable. Let's make it private, and then let's create a bool that says is downloading. Let's set it to false. Oh, sorry, true. So by default, our app will always start downloading, right? So we just set is downloading to true. Now, something new that we're going to learn today is how do we create getters for our private variables. So remember in Java how you do something like this: public, then the variable types of currency, right, and then get currency, and you can already see how wordy it is, right? This is how you do it in Java. Now Dart is pretty amazing. What it does is all you need to do is just type your return type, type in here get, then type in the name of the getter, this currency, then just like in JavaScript we have this equal to and the greater than sign, and then type in the private variable. That's it. Let's come this out, and now yes, and this should fix the problem. So this is as easy as it is. So your getter, this is basically your get currency. We just call it currency, right? And behind the scenes it returns the private variable. Perfect. Let's add these two methods here to update. These are similar to our setter methods, right? So let us add our setter method. So that is to do for, so update. Let's do update currency. And to update a currency, we need to take in a currency, call this currency. And all we need to do here is currency is equal to currency, as we would do in Java or even C++ for that matter. And now one special method here called notify listeners, which let's just type it now. And in about 15 minutes from now or 10 minutes from now, you will notice the the purpose of this line, notify listener. So let's see that. Let's do one for update is downloading. Basically setter methods, right? Bool uh, is downloading. And since these both have the same name, so now we have to clarify that the the variable name overloading by typing the this keyword is downloading. Again, this is very similar to Java, right? This keyword, very similar to Java. Perfect. Oh, and by the way, it's notify listener. That's important. Perfect. Now this is our currency block. Let's work on our display block. So if you want to find it out, it's in lib blocks display block, or if you want to find it out here, it's in to do file, right? To do file. Let's start to work on it. Let's create a private variable for quotes. So list of, now this is something new. It'll be much more clear soon. So let's just type it here, map entry. And think of map entry as a tuple, right? A tuple where the key of the tuple is string and the value of a tuple is of type double. So if any questions on what these are, is this something new? So be sure to put it in the comments and we can try to help you out. Perfect. We get some errors here. Not Cupertino, so we can import material. It doesn't matter actually. Both will work fine for this file, so you can leave it as Cupertino. Now, so we're getting some error here. List of parameters. So we'll try to see why this is happening. Let us work on our return type. So actually, will return a map entry, a list of map entries, string, double, and just like last time, we have get, and then the variable name without the underscore, right? Quotes, and then quotes. Uh, is it because we haven't initialized it? I doubt it. So I'll try to see why that is. But anyway, so our to do 6 says we have to initialize this by default to an empty list. So our quotes, before we download our quotes is basically like right, quotes. So not like what people say, not those kind of quotes like what Shakespeare would say. No, but these quotes are like US dollars. So you can have GBP as the string, right? Great. So it's British pound. And then for a double, you can have the conversion rate. So $1 is equal to how much British pound, right? So that's our string and our double. And now let's create our getter, I mean our setter for our quotes. So update quotes, and let's make this QUOTES, and let's have a list of map entries of string and double. So basically a list of tuples, basically quotes and underscore quotes equal to quotes. And just like last time, we do this amazing thing called notify listeners. So there seems to be, I think I've forgotten to import something. So that's causing the problem here. So so it looks like we have, so this import here, import, and here to import the, so I think I did not follow the to do in order here. So to provide a package, so just run pub get, and hopefully that should solve all the problems. So let's see in our display block. Well, you don't need to provide a package actually. So we'll come back to that. Notify listeners here, and Yep, that's so this so let's try to see if this fixes it, because this isn't really an error. Hopefully that should fix our problem. Let's give it some time for. Yep, that's just just some error from Android Studio's perspective. Perfect. We have completed our to do 8. Our to do 9 was actually implemented for us. So we just imported this package called provider, which is what we're going to use for advanced state management. So this provider package, we use that. Now our next thing is head over to our main.dart, right, to 10. Now here is something unique. So our material app, wrap it, so alt enter, and wrap this material app, so click on wrap with widget, and wrap it with something called a multi provider. Right, you notice this, it's multi provider is a class from our provider package. So just click on anyone, doesn't matter for now, and you should import that, behind the scenes. Now this takes in property called providers, which is basically a list of providers. Now what is a provider? So remember I said advanced state management in the most basic terms is you have some data. How will you efficiently give this data to all of the widgets in your app? So your provider is, as the name suggests, is a provider. You give data, right? So you have these two data sources here. Oops. Here you have this currency, which if you go behind the scenes, so hold control and click on currency, or under models, you can click on currency.dart. It basically has source and quotes, right? So this source is basically like US dollar. So this will be clear when we build our API, but just bear with me on this for now. Source is something like US dollar, so USD, which basically says that um, all the quotes are with respect to our source, USD. And then our quotes is a list, something like this. Think of it as a tuple. I just do in pseudocode 1.03, then let's say INR, which is Indian rupee. So it's about 77 maybe, 0.53. It's a list of these tuples, list of string and double tuples, string and double, right? This is what it is. So so this is our provider. We have this currency, which is an encapsulation of this list of quotes, and in our display block, so that was here, we have this quotes. This is all data. This is some data that you have. To efficiently disperse it to all widgets that require this data, we use our main.dart and we specify a provider here called um, change notifier provider. Now, some people of you, you might, if you are in college, you might have taken this like software, this uh, object-oriented programming class. You might learn these patterns called the observer listener pattern, right? This is basically what we're trying to implement, right? Your data source is these blocks here, currency and display block, and your consumer, or it's like your producer and consumer kind of model. Your consumers is our app, like all the widgets in our app. So right, you can think of it as your producer consumer problem if you are familiar with it. Perfect. Now here in our create, you can just type an underscore here. Underscore is basically, you don't, it saves you time because you don't have to specify all the parameters here. So you can click on create, control Q. Um, you can just click on underscore for now. It won't matter too much for us. And currency block. So create an instance of currency block, and let's give it another change notifier provider. And yeah, if there are any questions, you can put it in the chats, and I'll be happy to cover those. And also, if someone tags me on Discord, I will answer those questions too. So be sure to put them in. And in our create, same thing. Let us create our display block. Currently, we are telling our app that hey, we have some data sources. Think of it as a newspaper, right? A newspaper company. how do those, like, you have seen those newspaper stacks that are on the road or something, like on campus here at LSU, we have our LSU Rebel, which is the name of our name of LSU's newspaper, right? They have some newspaper vendors, some stands at many places. That is your data source. Whenever a new newspaper is added to our data source, to our newspaper stack, all of us, like the readers, can consume it. So we're telling that, hey, this is where I'm setting up the newspaper stands, and now all our widgets can extract information from this producer. So I hope I'm not confusing you there. Ask questions if there are, and I'll explain. So perfect. We have done this to do 11, 10, and 11. Yes. Now let us. We have done our producer. This is where you're specifying the data. Now let us head over to home screen and let us write the code for consumer, right? So you'll see what it means now. So currency. You can just uncomment these lines of code if you want, but I will explain each line of code. Provider, which is basically the provider package that we downloaded, and dot off and context. Now, this one cool thing is before the parenthesis, in the generic kind of thing, here you can, in your square brackets, here you can type in uh, currency block dot. Remember, in your currency block, you had these two getters, currency, and this is public, so you can just access this by default. So that's what we're trying to do now. Currency is equal to dot currency, and I will select this whole line and control D, which is a shortcut for duplicating a line, and this will be bool is downloading, and it will be is downloading. Right? You see, we are consuming. Right? We're asking from the provider called currency block. We're consuming the currency variable and saving it here, and is downloading. So it'll be much clearer now why we're doing it. So we have consumed it. Now let's consume from a second producer. Let's consume the data that the producer provides. So this is getting confusing, but ask questions if there are, and I'll be happy to explain. So right, we have consumed
12 seconds later.
Rohan, you're muted.
Whoops. Now that was yeah. Thanks for letting me know. So yes. So yeah, yeah. I freeze a couple of times. It's some network problems here. I hope it gets solved soon. Uh, yes. So let's resume. So our currency and our is downloading. We have uh, consumed the values that these two. We have consumed the values from our producers. So this is something confusing or not, I don't know, but let me know and we can cover it in more detail. But this is the main idea. You have a producer, you consume the values. Now let's consume from a second, from a display block. So in our home screen, let's take that too. So let's do oh, okay, display block. So let's do list of map entries, string, double is equal to quotes is equal to provider. Same, just like last time. So provider, context. But before this, we want to now take it from our display block. Right now, we have consumed from our currency block. We have consumed is downloading and currency. sorry, is downloading and currency. Now for my display block, we want to consume underscore quotes, right, using the getter. So let's do that. So in our home screen, I want to continue from display block and dot um, quotes, right, the getter we have. Now there's one other thing from the currency. Let's take in. Actually, we don't call this quotes. We call this formatted quotes because in display block we save the formatted quotes, which is just a convention that we're using. And here, this list of map entries, string, double, list of all quotes. So from currency, so from the currency, we are taking currency dot. If you control space, you notice that there are quotes, which is a map of string and doubles. So you can click on this dot values. So from the map, so this is a map. So there's a cool thing called entries. Values also will do, but we'll do entries dot list dot to list. So if you notice now, this entries, it's basically a list of map entries, right? And that's what we want to save here, a list of map entries. So an iterable is somewhat similar to a list. So we just explicitly convert it to a list by to list. Now this something that you notice here, this question mark. Now this is also something unique to Dart, which I don't think is in many programming languages. If you put a question mark here, if ever currency is null, this won't be executed. I'll repeat. Whenever currency is null, this part won't be executed. So if this part was executed, a quiz question, what would happen? Just think about it. Right? If you do null dot quotes, what would happen? Right? What would happen here? So you can think of it and put your answer in the comments. So cool. So there's some lags. You can take your time. Basically, that would give a null pointer exception, right, in Java. So to avoid that, just put a question mark before the dots. So if ever the preceding thing is null, the succeeding thing won't be executed. Be consumed. Yeah, apologize for the constant frozen thing. Yeah, hopefully it gets fixed. Apologize for that. Cool. Now we add to do 14. We completed to do 13. Let's go to do 14. Now here is that thing is, if the provider is downloading, so let me show you this. Currently we're showing the list. If you control S, there might be some errors here. We'll fix. Okay, no errors. So this is an empty list. So whenever we are downloading, we want to show the circular progress indicator, right? Which is right the circle bar here. So something cool here. Alt Enter. Wrap this. Actually, don't wrap it. In the child, type here is downloading. If it's downloading, then display a center. Child is circular progress indicator. Else display list view. So now it's not clear. Let me tap Control Alt L. Now it's very clear. So if it's downloading, then display the indicator. If it is not downloading, display the list of quotes. Simple. Because when it's downloading, you want to display the progress bar. If it's not downloading, you want to display the list. Right? Pretty intuitive. Now, for the let's go to 17. Also, so notice now if I'm scrolling, you notice this. It is a square here, right? It is a very hard edge. Let us beautify that by wrapping our is downloading. So Alt Enter, wrap with a widget called Clip R Rect to smoothen the edges. Now you might have seen this numerous times, right? We have done it multiple times. Border radius dot circular. Now, Rohan, what do we do here? Do we type in here 20.0? Well, we don't. We type in here k default border radius. You might be seeing now how and import the constants file. So click on Alt Enter and click on import. Any one of these will be fine. Now, if I want to change the border radiuses throughout the entire app, I can just change it within the constants here. Right? It's a very good design that we're doing. Right? Let's do 16. Now 17. So when do we display all the codes? So it'll be much more clear now. If the controller dot text dot is not empty. So you might be wondering, what's this controller? Scroll all the way up. This text field has a controller. You remember? We just discussed it in the start. Controller. Controller is how you will interact with your text field. Let me slow down here because this is important. Our controller is how you will interact with your text field. So if the controller.text, right, that's how you extract the text from a controller. If controller.text is, if it's not empty, then we will have to return currency card, right? Let's remove this, return currency card. And here there's a property called quote, right? So now you can return it from formatted quotes. Next. So basically we have a list, right? A list of, let me show you, a list of map entries called formatted quotes, which is like when you add a filter here, right? A filter, right? Let's say if I filter this by pounds, there might be British pound, British pounds. There might be some other different kinds of pounds here. So if you want to filter all the pounds here, you can, that will be present within formatted quotes. This quotes variable will contain all the quotes that we have. So for Kuwaiti dinar, for Indian rupee, for Australian dollar, right, for all these currencies. So when the text is not empty, that means we have to display the formatted one. Else, so if the text is empty, we have to return currency card. But this currency card will be from quotes, from all the quotes, right? If this is empty, no need of filtering it, no need of formatting it. So just type quotes index. Same thing with the item count. So we are nearing the end of step 3. Hang in there, folks. It's it's a bit hard to grasp, but it's not actually that hard. Flutter is pretty intuitive, straightforward. So ask questions. I think that's the best way to make most use of this session. So ask questions. So item count. So if, again, the same thing, text, or let's do controller, the text is not empty. If the text is not empty, then we have to return so formatted quotes, right? So formatted quotes dot length. But the thing is, sometimes this could be null, so we'll do one check formatted quotes. If this is not equal to null, so let me Control Alt L this thing, and let me Control L. So if the controller is not empty, then we'll return the length of formatted quotes. Let me show this. Yes, now it's slightly more clearer. If the controller is not empty, we'll have to give it the formatted quotes length. If it is not null, give the length. If it is null, just give 0. Right? Same thing here. There's some formatting techniques. So within formatted quotes here, Control Alt L. Now, if the text is empty, we have to return quotes.length. Item count basically requires a length, right? So just return quotes.length. Right? If our text is empty, that means we have to display all the quotes. So we have to display the length of all. So test to 20. And now if we hit Control S, we should see amazing. So you notice this? So if you get this circular indicator here, very good. So this is a lot of to-dos here, 20 to-dos. So thanks for hanging in there and working along with this app. If not, no problem. So very good progress so far. I hope you're proud of yourself. This is amazing stuff that you're doing. So what's happening now? So our currency block has this variable called is downloading. In our main.dat, we specify it as a producer, right? Using this currency block, we specify it as a producer. Then in our home screen, which is this home screen here, we consume that variable. So is downloading, we consume that variable. And is downloading is, we get the value of the consumed value is downloading. We save it in this variable called is downloading. Now here to display, if it's downloading, we display this center progress indicator, which is this. So that's our main idea. So very good stuff so far. Let's save our changes. So git add dot git commit dash m. Let's see if there are questions in chats. We can work on those. Let's commit these changes. Say completed step 3. And if there are any questions on the comments, we can check those questions out. And yes, I just saw the comments now. Yes, Dalton was right. The null pointer exception, that was right. So let's, I see we are here. Yes, very good. Architecture question. Why filter quotes is extracted to filter utils? Can it or should be part of display block? Very good question. Or does block pattern suggest lean block classes? I used more inherited widgets before. Very good questions. So what we're trying to do is trying to modularize our code. So our block is mainly we just want to keep it as a producer, as our data source, but no like we don't want to do any manipulation on it. The data is just as it is, right? Think of it as a bank, or think of it as a very lazy person. You just give the lazy person something, the person won't do any modifications to it. So for do modifications, we create a new utils, filter utils, that actually filters all, depending on our query, it filters through all the currencies. So our block pattern, like it's not a hard and fast rule. It's just a nice way of thinking of modularizing our app. All data within block, and all our manipulations, all our to modify this data within our utils files or within any other file. A very good question. This is a very happy to see this question. So keep those questions pouring in. There's no bad question. This is an extremely good question. So thank you for the question, and others too. Put your questions in, and I'll be happy to cover those. Very nice. So in our home screen, let's head over to step 4 starter code. So step 4 starter code, check out. And if you missed anything in step 3, not a problem at all. You can just go to step 4 starter code, and step 3 is already implemented in step 4. So it's right. You can just follow along with our workshop now. Let's see all our to-dos now. So our to-do 1. Now here is where we will do our network operation. Now this is just spinning endlessly because we are never going to download the currencies. But now let's download the currency. So you can depend on this package. So HTTP 0.12.2. Now you might be wondering, how do I know this? So currently, as this sort from the to-do, right? I wrote this in the to-do for that reason, to save us time. But otherwise, you can head over to pub.dev and search for the HTTP package here. Pub.dev, search for the package, click on the package here, and then copy this, right? You have the HTTP, the package name, along with the version number. That's basically what we have done here, right? 0.12.2, which is just as it is, as it shows on the website. Perfect. Depend on the HTTP package and pub get. So we're getting the dependency. So we're downloading the package onto our, so that we can use it within our app. And yeah, this always appears. So just click get dependency multiple times or click ignore. It's your choice. Now we have to work on our network operation. This is pretty quick because we've done APIs multiple times now. So let's see. So within our async. Now, some fun stuff here. Type here provider dot off context, and now within this we want to modify which provider. We want to modify the currency block. Why currency block? Because currency block contains our the currency API response, right? So let me go back to home screen, and now here it will be much more clear. Context, yeah. Type in listen is equal to false, which I'll explain why it is. Dot is downloading is equal to true. So basically, in our producer, we want to tell the producer, this lazy person that's just sitting on a like a couch potato, basically sitting and just going to consume your data. I mean, store your data and and give it to people, right? So we're just modifying this is downloading variable to false, sorry, to true. So in our home screen, we're setting it to true. Then we'll do a download now. So now let's create our currency object is equal. I mean, nothing. Our API URL. So to save us time, I've already, so we're using this currency layer API, which you can just Google search, currency layer API, the first one, right? Currency layer API. So I'll just go through this quickly. So it's not really important. You can sign up, right? This is how the response will look like. We have a source, there's US dollar, we have a quotes, which is our list of conversions, right? US dollar to Canadian dollar is 1.31, right? So on and so forth. You can sign up and get an API key. To save us some time, I have already done this process. So you can sign up and it's very easy. Just sign up free account. You can create your account here, right? To save us time, I've already created an API key for us, which is this, which technically you should not share your API keys, but this is a testing one, so I won't be charged, so not a problem. It may not work as there's a limit, if you'll notice here, of 250. So if all of us use it, will exceed 250 and it might not work. But for the most part, it'll work today. So let's just is equal to, and just copy this whole thing. This is basically the request URL. So there's no logic here. This is how we must provide it. You can refer to the documentation and see, if you go to the /live endpoint and pass it a query parameter of your access key, which is your API key basically, and format is 1. So that's just the way it is. You can just refer to the documentation. It's not too important. Now the important stuff. Let's send a request to this API using this request. So now let's use a HTTP package. Before this, let's import the package. Import HTTP, and basically this HTTP.dart. Click on it, and after the type in here as HTTP, very similar to Python, right? How you would rename the package, right? You can do the as part. HTTP. Now you can do .get. Send the get request to where, to our API URL, and that's basically it. Save it. HTTP.response. Response is equal to await. Remember await keyword. So we have covered this. Await is basically you wait for the response. Async await, I've covered this before. Ask questions if you want. I'll be happy to explain. So questions are very important, and yeah, ask questions. So response. Let's parse the response and save it in a map, or just in a var for now. Var body is equal to JSON decode. So you might have to import. So if you click enter now, it auto imports it for us. Source will be response dot body. Now we have parsed the JSON response. We have covered this before, so if you want me to cover again, don't worry, ask questions. I'll be happy to cover it again. We pass the JSON response, and now let us create a currency object. Oops, I mean dot from JSON and pass in our body. Now behind the scenes, you can click on this, hold Control and click on from JSON. Behind the scenes, right, this parsing is done. Getting the quotes out of it. Let me show you a sample response actually, so you all will be familiar with what's going on. So in our home screen, let me copy this whole URL here. Let's make the request here. This is how it looks like. So let's Control A, Control C, and paste it as usual. We have covered this JSON formatter. So just paste it in any JSON formatter. Paste it here, and you don't need to follow along with me. Not a problem if you aren't. I just want to show you quickly. So your object, in that you have a source that says USD by default. In your quotes is a list of, like, it says the dirhams, United Arab Emirates, right? So on and so forth. There are many other currencies here. And $1 equals to 3 dirhams, right? So you can go through these conversion rates. So that's the thing of our app. So what we're doing here is, in our currency dot, this method, we have pre-written it for you in the starter code. It basically takes the body and parses the quotes here. So all of it is done for us, and it creates this currency object with source and quotes, which is basically the source, US dollar. It parses it from your JSON, and quotes, which is your map or your list basically of your quotes here. Perfect. So any questions, you can ask them in here. Oh yes, that one seems to be heading out. Not a problem at all. Thanks for tuning in. And now, in our home screen, yeah, we have got the currency object. Now let us, so if the currency is not equal to null, so if it is not null, if currency is not null, let us give it to the provider. So provider.off context dot, oh, you have to specify to which provider you want to give it to. I want to give it to the currency block. So if you notice here in our currency block, right, we have this provider. So we're telling the provider that, hey, here is our downloaded data. So ask questions if there are any. So I'm not getting any. So it's, yeah, I mean, I'm here to help you out. So just don't feel shy or anything. Just ask questions. There's no bad questions. Perfect. Now within this, just type in your listen is equal to false, and set here update currency, and set this to currency. Yes, absolutely, Dalton. Not a problem at all. Thanks for tuning in. Perfect. So the provider, this is our provider here. So our currency, so if we have successfully downloaded the currency information from our API, we give it to the provider using this line. Now, you might be wondering, what's this listen is equal to false, right? Basically, to break it down completely, listen is equal to false is whenever you want to give the provider some information, just pass in this optional parameter called listen is equal to false. This basically means that it's just a one-way transaction. I'm giving this lazy person this currency information, but I want nothing in return. So for purely giving tasks, you'll get an error if you pass in true or if you don't pass in anything, because by default, listen is true. So be sure to explicitly pass in false. So you won't get an error. All giving transactions to your producer should always be one way. You should not expect anything in return. So I won't listen to anything. Right? That's the saying. Now, there's one other thing that I didn't mention here. You must put this in a try block. Right? A try catch block. This is what should happen. Catch. So if there's any errors here, just print this error. And go to null. It is optional basically, because by default currency was null. So if it failed, just explicitly you can just say it's equal to null. And next, let us tell the provider dot dot off and then context, and now is downloading. We're telling the provider that is downloading now is false. So now you might be wondering that why is this so long-winded, right? Like try to like ask me questions if there are. By the way, so what's happening when we start our method? We set is downloading to true. So now our whole app, because our whole app depends on this provider, will know that we are downloading from the internet because we set this flag or this boolean to true. All this code in the most layman's terms, Rohan, you're confusing things too much. Okay, let's break it down. This part is basically internet download. We're downloading the response. This part is telling the provider that, hey, oh, by the way, listen should be false. Always giving transactions, listen is false. We're telling the provider that, hey, I have finished the download, so I'm setting this is downloading flag to false. How will that help me out, you ask? Well, that is all components of your app will keep observing this flag is downloading. And now the whole app will know that we have stopped downloading, right? This uh, syntax could seem a bit intimidating at first. Like, what's all this? The square brackets. Yeah, this is basically something to get used to. So don't worry, just hang in there. It'll be much more clear soon. And I believe that's to do 7. Let's see if there are. So to summarize, we have downloaded the result and uh, and then and then given it to our producer. So we've downloaded the currency information and given it to our producer. Now let's see if there seems to be one more. Yes. Now, so let's actually not do to do 8. Let us do a hot restart. So reload won't work now. Let's do a hot restart. Now you notice you got all the currencies, right? So you can take your time if you haven't understood. You can take your time and ask questions now. I can't stress enough how important it is to ask questions. Questions is like the best way to learn. So if you aren't familiar with anything, I'll be more than happy to explain. So ask questions. So you see how like relatively easy to us to download it from the internet. This is something to get used to. So now you're like, it's so difficult, but it actually is easy when you get used to it. Very fast. So I don't know, Palavi, so am I? You are Julia very fast. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm coding too fast. You want me to slow down, or the development of I'm going too fast. Uh, so okay. Let me do this. Let me summarize for you. Uh, so yes, to match with our 2 hour, I think so. I do it, but yeah, usually like we want to give the best experience. So let's do this. So let me break down the entire thing as much as I can. I'll try my best. All right. So currency block is a very lazy person that has this information. The lazy person only stores the information but doesn't manipulate it. So what's happening now? In our home screen, we tell the lazy person that, hey, set the is downloading to true, right? So our currency block has this is downloading. We're setting it to true. It's already true, but we're explicitly setting it to true, right? Let me slow down even more. I'm trying my best to explain here. Next, all of this part is basically downloading from the internet, right? We're downloading from the internet. So we have covered this in the previous sessions. Let me give you a very brief explanation, and I'll try my best to explain. Our API URL is basically how to request information from our API. If you read the documentation, they'll tell you to use this URL here, right? They'll tell you this whole URL. Yeah. Then this is using a HTTP package to query this URL and to send our request, right? This line of code, it parses that response. So just like how we got a response here in this text format, I don't know what's going on. To parse this response, we place it here. Like this is basically parsing the response, right? Now you have this very neat objects here, right? And you can do plus, minus. Here, I can't do anything. It's just plain text. So this line of code, it decode, right? It parses or it deciphers or it interprets, like it parses the response and gives you this body, which is basically like this, like this, where you can do minus, where you can do plus. It's like a parse system. Now, it's a very easy to use, right? Um, Finally, yeah, this line of code just converts it to our currency object. And then if we have successfully, so if we haven't successfully downloaded from the internet, currency would be null. So if it is not null, then we're giving the lazy person, this provider, and we're telling the provider that, hey, update the currency to the new currency that I've downloaded. Right? We have downloaded this new currency, and I'm telling the provider that take this. This is the latest information. Right? Finally, we're telling the provider that also I have finished downloading. So is downloading is equal to false. Right? I hope you saw the whole pipeline. We started with is downloading is equal to true, did the download, and then updated the flag to false. So if there are any other parts, I'm more than happy to do it one-on-one. So I can help you out. So yeah, so I'll be more than happy to help you out. So thanks for the questions, and keep more coming in if there are any. Perfect. We're very close to the end now. So currently we're getting the static information. So actually what you're doing in a currency card, we have this quote here, right? Like a parameter in this currency card called quote. But instead of taking string, instead of taking this static information, let us just take in quote dot key. Control S, right? You get USD BHD, USD BIF. Now to only get the notice in the response, right? Your key is of this form. We only want AED, AFN, ALL, right? So to do that, we use a helper method which is even in Java called .substring. Substring. And start index 3. Now you can get only the trailing part of our key. Now to change this, instead of hard coding into British pounds, we can use this quote object and say quote dot value. Now what is the key and what's the value? Basically, this is our one quote, and this is our key, and this is our value, right? So you can take your time. This is like a big app, so you can take your time and refer to this. But now I would recommend is you can just like to see the general picture, and also ask me questions. I'll be happy to help you out even after the session. And even Dalton is there, so help is in abundance, so don't worry about that. Quote dot value. So if you observe, this is of type double. So there's two fixed, the string as fixed, and three decimal digits. Oh, not this. The value should be for this text, the trailing text, right? The trailing text. Let's do this. Now you should get the dynamic values here, right? The dynamic values. Control Alt L. And now for this British pounds. So basically, if you observe in our currency dot dart, there is already a currency list that's mapping each of these three-letter codes to this long full form, right? So in our currency card, what we'll do is we'll do currency dot currency list, and for the key, right, you have to give it a key to get, like if I give it a key of ANG, it should give me this, right? It should give us this basically. So in our currency card, for the currency list here, we'll pass in here quote dot this, right? For all of this, so we're passing the three-letter code, and it should give us the full form. And that's it. So I hope you see how like, I mean, at first it seems hard, but take your time and ask questions, and yeah, that's how we made our app. Now our last step, let me save this information. Our last step is very quick. We might even because that is not really Flutter dependent, that's just plain old algorithms, so we won't talk too much about it. Let's just save this as completed. Step 4, and let's head over to step 5, start a code. And if you feel I'm still going too fast, don't worry. I'll explain, Pallavi. So you always, so you are you attend all our sessions, so we'll be more than happy to explain in great detail. So don't worry about anything, right? Uh, Now let's go to step 5, starter code. And yeah, there should be no difference. Let's start to work on our, oops, let's see our what to do. And we have about 4 minutes, which is fine. So in our filter utils, right? Utils, filter utils. Let us, so this code, like it's just the way it is, right? So it like it's not really that dependent. So we'll just do it very quickly, and you can uncomment the code out if you want to follow along. And you can just uncomment this out, and I'll explain as much as I can. So here we have a list of codes, right? So map entry of type string double all filtered quotes empty. Uh, yeah, and now let's iterate through it. So we'll do a for let's do map entry. So this is just like a for each loop in Java, right? For entry string double. It is uncommented lines of code if you want to follow along. Let's call this quote in quotes, like a for each loop. For each iteration, let me. So let's see if the, so basically we are given a text. We want to see if the text is matching in the code, right? So basically this text is this text. Is it matching in any of the code? So it could either match by code or it could match by string. So actually, uh, like that's just the way to do it. So we won't really talk too much about it. So your string, so if the full form is, let's extract our full form is equal to, just like last time, right? How we did that. Let's copy this, save us some time. Just like last time, we entered, okay, E. So here we can type in port dot key, so the same thing, full form, and now bool. So is what is the name of that? So is full form. Okay, let's call it is full form is equal to. So if our text or if our full form dot contains, if our full form contains our text, so our text could be like KWA. So it will return this KWA. So if it contains, we're just saving it in this boolean. Next for our code. So to save us some time, it's basically this how you get the code. The code could be something like ANG, right? As this. And the full form could be something like Netherlands, right? All of this. So we want to see if quote. We want to see if bool is quote is equal to code dot contains quote. So oh, not code, I mean text. So if our code contains our text, so if we type in n, we should get this. We should, if I type in a, we should get all of these because all of these have an a in its name. So if code dot contains text, then we have to return. So now very quickly, and we are very close to the end. We might extend slightly by a short while. So if is quote or if is full form. So if it matches any of these, add it to the formatted or filtered dot add. So add our quote is full form. So basically we have this empty list now. We're iterating to all the quotes, right? And then we are filtering it. So if only if it contains in the code or in the full form. So if you find a match, then only add it to filtered quotes. And finally, let's update the provider. It's like last time. Provider is how we're going to do everything so far, everything for now. So provider.off tells import provider. Alt enter and import provider.dart. Off context. And before this, type in your currency.dart. Oh, sorry, display. display block, and here you can type in your quotes. Sorry, I mean update quotes. Setter, right? Update quotes, and pass in our filtered quotes. And as always, our listen for entering data in should be false. And I know this might be a little too fast, but I'll explain in detail. So one-on-one, if you have any questions, so don't worry about that. And now Control S, and our app should work now. So let's check it out. So there's some small steps here. So let's just copy this. So you can just refer to this at a time. So let's say some small changes that we have to do. Uncomment these out, and now our and we can solve this problems here. Control S, and now it should work here. So you notice now for dinar, so it found in the text here, so its full form was true, and we can even match by code. So GBP, I think it matched using the code. So you can filter using this way, and that's it. That's our app. There are a few more to dos. It basically talks about just some beautification, but basically that's our app. So to recap very quickly, I'll give you a quick recap. We downloaded the information from the internet. So very quick recap. So in our home screen or Dart, right? This is the method that will be called to download information from the internet. So we set this flag to true in our provider or our producer, right? We do the download, we update the provider, and then we set the flag to false. Now, if I do a plus here, you notice now, you get this circular indicator, then you get the list. Why is that happening? Because when you get the circular indicator, because this is true, the moment this was set to false, right, the circular indicator disappeared and you got the list, right? Um, so yes, and then this was just parsing the response and so on and so forth. Filter, very simple, like that's just the way it is you filter based on code, you filter also based on name. If any of them match, right, or keyword, right, when if them match, add it to the filtered codes, and then you can display that, right? So Australian, right, you can see this. So yes, so if any questions, you can take them now, but I know this is like it is quite something. It's something new. So some people, if they're new to Flutter, they might find this a little extensive, but ask questions. So this is because we'll try our best to help, and we also want to build professional apps. So we're trying to strike a good balance with it. So we want to help you out. So ask questions now or even after the session, and so that's our app for today.
Rohan, thank you so much. Very quickly, you want to talk a little bit about your office hours on Discord?
Oh yes. So last week I couldn't do that, but this week, so tomorrow Friday, we're definitely going to have office hours from 6 to 8. So 6 to 8 Eastern. They're going to have our office hours. 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
What day again?
Tomorrow. So tomorrow Friday,
okay.
6 to 8. Yes.
So
okay.
So what I'll do is ping me, and I'll make an announcement so everybody gets to know that you are live. And then see where it goes from here. Now we are also working on a certification process. We can talk about that in detail. So anybody who completed this, they'll get certified to a certain extent. But we'll have a conversation on the ones who actually completed. So that being said, I know it's been a long day. We're a little over as we planned. So thank you so much for joining. Make sure to this session is going to be live, available right after this. Welcome. Please share this with your community, with your network, with your friends. and then hopefully they can catch up to the point that we want to get to when the next session comes up. So what are we doing next week, Mohan?
Next week is something I can't tell you how excited I am for. We're going to be building a professional weather app. So weather apps, you have used weather apps all the time. So like on iOS, you have the infamous weather app, and on Android, you have like different versions of weather apps. We're going to be building a very professional UI by taking a UI design from a website called dribble.com, right, which is some amazing designers have posted some prototypes there. We're going to be building that and focusing more on the UI. So actually, we're going to be going in detail. So you'll actually enjoy the UI part more than the coding. So next week's section is something that you'll enjoy quite more than all of these ones, where we got
So,
bogged down by the code.
so would you recommend like this might be a good session for even designers to participate in?
Absolutely, because we are mainly going to focus on design. So it's very good to use the prototypes provided by very professional designers, and how do you implement it in Flutter. So that's good experience for Flutter developers and also for designers in general.
So is there going to be anything intermediary? So for example, are we going to use Sketch or Figma in the middle and convert it, or is that a yes or a no?
Very good question. So Figma and Sketch. So we won't be building the prototypes. We'll be using the prototypes that have been given to us by some professional designers, and these professional designers have posted them on dribble.com. So we're just going to be implementing the professional design in our app. So
Okay.
yeah,
I'll definitely make sure to highlight that part and
absolutely.
try to attract more designers to the program for the session next week. Okay, so we got a question just came in, Pallavi. It would be great if you could give us or tell us to make an app on which topics we had sessions or what we can have learned. Okay. So based on what they learned, what other applications at this point after today's session do you think they can go explore or test out, in your opinion?
So very good question, Pallavi. So we have mostly learned apps from downloading data from the internet. That's usually a list of data. So we have downloaded dogs in our previous our dog quotes app. Today we've downloaded list of currencies here. So basically anything that has a list from an API. So you can either focus on the UI part of it, or you can focus more on the coding part of it. But I would recommend to use an API that gives you a list. So a few examples that come to my mind now is cats. Right? If you're a cat person, you can go on there's a cat API. I can even show you here. So there's a cat API made by the same. So it is this one. I partially use it. So actually, it's really good. So go on the catapi.com and under docs.
So I guess based on what they learned so far, they can create real estate applications, Airbnb type applications. I'm guessing that that's all because we talked about doing API calls, categorizing the different types, pulling the images, and so on. Have we? I'm assuming we haven't touched Firebase yet, but
No.
yeah. So I think those features are going to come through. Anything that has multiple different categories and
Yeah, absolutely.
displays, and then if you want to drill into it, I think that would work. Even you can create like something like a social media type of application, friends networks and things like that, which follows the same structure. I think the user experience part is going to be very interesting. So thank you so much. And yes, he or she, I'm sorry, asked this question. Should we have competition? Yeah, competitions are going to be next year. So stay tuned. We will try to create it more interactive in the next coming weeks and months. Yeah, I would love to get everybody involved. Again, it's better to do it as groups. It's better to do it with your friends. So everybody who's learning this is already on Discord too. So you should collaborate with your peers. So we highly encourage that as well. So that being said, Rohan, once again, thank you so much. I know you put a lot of effort into this, and we are happy to wrap this up. Before I do this, let me share this API that you just shared on the chat. And after that, I'd like to bid you all a very good night and see you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Привет.
Hello.
Servus.
Marhaba.
Hola.
Hello.
I'm inspired that there's so many people working to accomplish the same goal of creating a connected future.
By having students lead clubs on campus directly supported by Google developers, that's the best way to reach out to students.
It's really inspirational always to hear about members of the community who echo your values and echo your beliefs.
I've been listening more than I've been speaking, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I'm just getting all these ideas.
Google, it needs to reach a wider audience and be more relatable as a company, and I think Google is one of the brands that is very good at doing that.